recognize, just as it has been in the United States for Jamaica, one of the issues that has been presented as an issue that is economic in the way of its impact has been the pandemic. So to that end, we are announcing today also that we will assist Jamaica in COVID recovery by assisting in terms of the recovery efforts in Jamaica that have been essential to, I believe, what is necessary to strengthen not only the issue of public health, but also the economy.
Anybody watch her interview on 60 Minutes last night? 60 Minutes is on a roll. They had Joe on a couple weeks ago, and then they had Kamala on last night. I was watching the football game, and as soon as the football game wrapped and it switched over to the Kamala Harris interview, I immediately turned it off and instead listened to the audiobook of Bronze Age Mindset.
No, we were just watching British murder comedy or murder mysteries. That's all.
So were you busy doing that when Rent-A-Center slipped in and took all your furniture back, Justin?
You've been saving that one, haven't you? That's awesome.
I was going to say it earlier. I better wait till we're on air for that one. Yeah, man, it looks bare in there. It used to be full of couches and shit.
Yeah. The only thing left. So there's a wall right here in front of me. So from this wall, that direction is my stepdaughter and son's area. And then everything here is my area, or was my area, I guess I should say. This is all bare. The only thing left in my part of the house is my desk. And there's not even anything in the desk or on the desk. Like it is just a bare desk that my computer is sitting on. And if it stopped fucking raining, I would move this out there, but I can't very well back up to the front door to pack this thing out because it's been raining for the past 2 days and I would end up buried in the yard. I know this for a fact because when we first moved in and I brought the desk in here, it had rained that morning, and then that afternoon I backed up and almost got buried in the yard. So
nice.
I am one of those people who will not make the same mistake twice. Unlike our entire fucking government, that here we are back, sending troops and warships and bombing a sandbox in the Middle East.
Oh, I thought we weren't going to be serious today.
What? It's Monday. We can do serious on Monday. For a minute, anyway. There's too much other stuff, though.
Oh, we got some hot Matthew Perry talk.
Yeah. And
I haven't seen. I just saw that he died. I have no clue what happened, or like I'm honestly can't even think about who he actually is. Like, what was he in?
Well, it's got to be drug. He was in Friends. That was his big one, and then a bunch of terrible rom-coms. He was Chandler on Friends. Yeah. He's 54. Friends. He had a huge drug problem for a while. Apparently, still does. I'm just assuming.
Did. And now he's cured.
There's like funny stories where like he used to talk about like he'd go to like open houses like for like realtors, big fancy fucking houses in California and shit, and sort of act like he's interested in buying the house, and he'd do the walkthrough, and he'd go like raid their medicine cabinet and steal their fucking pills and shit. So that was how he'd get fucking drugs, is he'd go, oh yeah, it's a nice house, mind if I take a look around, and go and fucking steal their fucking drugs.
Well, they did say
in California.
They did say they found a ton of prescription drugs in the bathroom at his house. Also, initially, the initial report was that he drowned in his jacuzzi, which just seems weird, or drowned in a jacuzzi, which just
sounds like weird. Drugs. Yeah.
Right. And then, but also, there's a bunch of the him being vaccinated pictures start surfacing. And then it was reported that he had it was a cardiac arrest while he was in the jacuzzi.
Which fit with the the other part there.
Right, which could go with any of it. That could
Yeah.
go along with the drugs or the other drug.
Being all the above.
Yeah, that's hard to really narrow it down. It seems like it is more likely that it had something to do with the prescription drugs, not the shot. But who knows?
I heard Martha Stewart hawking it the other day on the radio.
Talking prescription
Get your
drugs?
updated shots. Yeah, get your updated, sponsored by the P word.
But did you
Yep.
also see the thing that showed that, and they've been running all of these ads that you need to get both of them at the same time? You got to get your updated.
Yeah. Did you see the article I dropped in chat about that?
There was the article that shows the study that older people who have gotten both at the same time are experiencing
dropping dead.
Yeah. It wasn't cardiac. It was strokes. Having stroking out. Amazing, right? Not that anybody who actually did some research on all of the trials that Pfizer and Moderna had done prior to any of that stuff being released, and the reason that none of those things ever made it to human trials is because the animal trials always resulted in the same thing, either massive organ failure or seizures or strokes, killing off all of the test subjects. So they never got to human trials with anything until, the FDA gives emergency authorization use. And then here we are. We're getting taken down off YouTube
it's
again.
Almost like it's planned.
I was going to say, were we back on YouTube?
Yeah, for
today.
For the first 10 minutes of the show. I looked it up.
See, I was trying to be good, man. I was trying not to get us kicked off, but Justin.
If you go listen,
we're trying to dance around it, but then it's like, well, we're just fucking talking about it now. So,
sorry. If you go listen to my regular episode of my show today, obviously I'm kind of on one. So, Steve, the coffee is in fact on point. Thank you very much.
Damn straight it is.
I put in an order this
Thank
morning,
you.
but it acted funny whenever I hit order. So I don't know if you saw it or not.
No, not yet.
Damn it. This happened last time I put in an order.
No orders.
Your system doesn't like
Justin's kidding. The site works perfectly. Go spend your money, guys. It will not be a hassle.
Calm down, man. I had a good weekend. I'm almost out of everything.
Oh, sorry. I
Nice.
didn't mean to clean you out on what little bit you had left.
Jeez, man. No, it's been a good weekend. I gotta go roast a ton of shit this week. So,
Nice.
but
Fuck. Yeah.
Speaking of roasting a ton of shit,
Oh god.
didn't they send a bunch of U.S. military to?
oh man, that would have been a perfect segue for the roasting babies. Oh, come on. You totally failed that one.
I miss that. I just saw that in like passing the other day or earlier this morning. I was like, what is? I don't know.
Dang it.
Sorry, I don't know what the roasting babies is.
Okay.
I mean, if we're sending the military over to Israel, they're gonna be roasting something for sure.
Yes, definitely.
So what's the roasting babies? Is this the newest?
Yeah, it's the
baby
newest
thing?
propaganda out there. Some dude is complaining on Twitter that they found a baby in the oven, and of course, there's no proof. But I'll have to find it. I'll find the post and send it to you.
They found
man.
a Jewish baby in the oven. That's a little too on the nose. Sorry, I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, right. And on top of it, I quoted the abortion statistics in Israel, and then immediately got blocked.
You can't say that stuff. They block you immediately. And don't talk about how like 48% of the population of Tel Aviv is LGBTQ, specifically leaning towards the TQ side of it.
There, I just sent it to you.
Yeah, they
just
really
sent it
get
to you
mad
on
at you.
Twitter.
They really get mad at you for that one.
Yeah. Those two things. The chosen, God's chosen people are all gay and killing their babies, but one gets thrown in the oven and the whole world just ends.
It's every fucking war, man, and it's just the
Well,
same
it's
shit.
it's the
Every
same
fucking war, and I'm like,
propaganda over and over again. I mean,
man,
they did the
always
whole
babies and grandmas.
yeah they did the whole thing like when the attack first happened in was it early October or whatever it was. They were saying that they had like babies on bayonets. They've been using that since like
Mhm.
the Napoleon Wars.
Yep.
Like
And there's babies
it's
and
the
babies
same
out of
propaganda.
incubators. And
Yeah.
I think it's
Oh,
Tom
the
Woods. I don't
incubator
know who
one.
says
That
this,
one's a
but
classic.
or maybe
That one's
Scott Horton, but yeah, he's like just does that make sense? Like you're on like this war, you're in like a war. Hold on, guys, let's just make a quick stop off at the children's hospital to daintily take the babies out of the incubators, then we'll continue on. Like it doesn't even make any fucking sense. You know, like you're like, no, I'm gonna go kill some shit and try to not get shot. Like, yeah, we have time during an invasion. You know, we'll just stop off at the children's hospital real quick.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I do love the responses to this.
Oh, he got ratioed horribly.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that whole thing. And then did you see, Dag, did you see that whole story? The girl that made it up said she was working in the hospital. She was actually a Saudi princess.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
who
remember
were most of the hijackers?
they were yeah, and then
Saudi
this was like
Arabian
testifying in
thing?
front of Congress or some shit, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it turns out it's like, oh yeah, that was all fake, you know.
Yep. The whole thing was a freaking lie. Every word she said was
Mhm.
an absolute lie. Yeah, we're supposed to believe it now, again, for the 100th time. I think this is the best part about this whole thing is that you have normies completely seeing through the propaganda now. Like, they're just like, wait, we've heard the story. Every time you want us to go to war, we hear the same exact story.
Yeah.
Just doesn't
Sometimes you
make
got to
sense.
remind them. Hey, remember? Doesn't this sound familiar? Oh yeah. Remember all this? That didn't turn out to not be true. And don't get me wrong, horrible things happen on
Yes.
both sides of all this shit. You know what I mean? I'm
Yes.
very anti-war, but like, yeah, like this. But it's just the same fucking shit every time, and it's like I just can't. You know, it's like you can't get me on the fucking side on this shit. It doesn't. You know, I just
And straight up, Hamas should not have done what they did and gone
Right.
in there. I understand why they did. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying I understand. They should not have gone in there. They should not have started this up again. But at the same time, they should not be in an open air prison.
yeah. The
So
whole thing's a mess. I'm just
there's and people can't see the nuances and can't actually discuss the story. They just like jump on their side and say, "Oh, Israel bad. Oh, Hamas bad. You know, they're terrorists." You know,
one side bad, one
even
side
that New York Times article that you pulled up, Justin, it says like the Americans are going to fight the terrorists. Like they're how are they terrorists? They're an army. They're an actual army.
Everybody
Like-
over there is a terrorist. They're all terrorists, one way or
Aren't they
another.
technically the ones like who were voted in to power there?
Yeah, by Israel.
Is
They
in
put 'em in
LA?
power. Yeah, Israel actually, Netanyahu actually did, like, he invented this whole thing. It's blowing up in his face, just like everything America does blows up in our face. Iran in the 60s. Sorry, go on.
No, all good. I just think it's in LA. The Jewish Americans and Israelis are arming up. Gotta protect yourself against the day of jihad.
Is
Man,
that in
that was-
America they're arming up?
That was,
Yeah,
the,
this says it's in LA
that was the
specifically.
most disappointing day of jihad ever. No jihad happened anywhere.
Did you guys have it? You guys have any like uncles or anything who called you and made sure you?
No, but I went and got some chicken shawarma that day.
With some people.
I committed jihad
tertiarily
on,
close to
on a
me.
chicken shawarma sandwich. It was awesome.
But yeah, those people were like, "Hey man, you got a rifle, right? you got ammo? Just okay, just be ready. Whatever. I don't remember what day it was, but yeah, there was definitely some people around here who were ready. And I'm like, oh, you can't actually think. And then if something did happen, I wouldn't even. I'd be like, feds, you know, like I wouldn't even think it was actually jihad shit, you know. Like,
Well,
oh,
and the problem with this whole thing is that you have some Arabic looking guy that walks into a store and you have some grandpa that's on edge because he watches too much Fox News and he blows the guy away because he walks in the store with a headscarf on.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you're setting shit up. You're setting stuff up for it to happen. You're not.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing.
Well, that's the whole point. Is they drive all of this fear and propaganda, and they talk about all this insane bullshit to get people on both sides all riled up and sitting on edge, so that then all it takes is just a little bit of a spark, and now shit's gonna pop off, and then you've got full on Civil War on top of World War III on top of whatever else is gonna and of course all of that'll distract from the fact that we're about to hit a second Great Depression. So.
And that's what they want, though. They want that. They need the unrest to happen so that they can take more control.
Well, and that distracts from the actual important news that we've got going on in the world.
This.
Oh.
I don't know. I haven't even read this yet. It's about the actor who played. It's about the actor who played Thing. So we're doing our sort of Halloween movie, time of year, and we just watched the Addams Family's movies from the early '90s. I don't know if you guys how familiar you guys are with them. When the last time you've seen them, I hadn't seen them since they came out. But the second one, the Addams Family Values, very sexual. Which it's kind of like maybe it's like a PG-13 or a teenage movie or something. But I was like, man, kind of like a children's movie. But there's this joke where Fester. He's like complaining to Gomez how he needs a woman, and I want love and this and that. And he's like, Gomez, I have needs. And Gomez goes, well, needs? What about Thing? And like gestures over to Thing to the hand, and he starts quivering. I was like, oh my God. I definitely never caught that one when I was a kid. He just insinuated that just get the house bitch Thing to jerk you off.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah,
I haven't seen that. I don't think I've ever watched that movie.
They're not terrible. They're fun.
I need to watch People Under the Stairs. Is that what? I think that's what it's called.
I've seen that one, but I don't recall it. It's been several years. There's also an electronic music.
Bobby, right?
Called People Under the Stairs.
Have you ever listened to his podcast, Not For Everyone podcast, where they talk about mostly it's 90s, 80s, 90s movies?
No,
they
I never have.
Oh, it's so much
fun. Back. He had Johnny Profita was on for one. It's been a while ago, and I listened to that one, but I haven't anymore. I don't really listen to any podcast.
I listen to that one because it's a break from all the political stuff. So
yeah, you need that, man. I used to listen to so much political shit, just all like 4 hours a day, it's like, I can't, I just don't.
When I drove, I was at like 13, 12, 10 hours of podcasts a day. It's just like wondering why my heart feels like it's going to explode.
Yeah. letting all these dorks fill my head with nonsense.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Since I've gotten out of doing a whole lot of video editing and stuff for the different ones, I've gotten to where I listen to Second Print Comics podcast, Mark Claire and Remzo Martinez, and that's about it. And otherwise, I really don't listen to much of anything. I read a lot. I read a lot of stuff, but I don't listen to other people.
Definitely fake and gay.
Yeah, I most of the shit I listen to now is like comedy related or comedy adjacent. I like shows like this one, like ours, are a good mix. It's a little bit of stuff, but it's not too serious.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff that I do, I try to focus on specific topics or like Peddling Fiction. We cover a wide variety of different stuff, and we mix in humor with the stuff that's serious on every show. So we're getting a good blend. Speaking of mixing it up a little bit, this was amazing. Multiple female athletes dropped out of a women's martial arts tournament last weekend after being matched up to fight trans-identified males. One of the women's divisions, the only participants left competing were men. You're starting to see this in different sports more
Chess.
and more. Well, yeah, even there was where was
Wait,
that?
seriously?
Yeah, I think like the International Chess League or something, they don't allow trans people to, cross gender compete, something to that effect.
So that's the one sport that, like, or sport, whatever it is. But that's the one thing that what would it matter?
Well,
Dude
I
playing
mean,
a chick, like what would that matter?
if one gender's better at that, if one gender's brain works a certain way that enables them to be better at that, or even, hey, maybe
Of
it's just
course,
a lot of
but
these
that's
people that
the
are from all
point.
over the world and they just ain't playing this shit. Maybe they're like a lot of the like chess people are like Russian, so maybe they're like, no, fuck that, I can't do a Russian accent. But
Well, they don't want the Russians in there because the Russians are bad. Remember?
yeah. So, but yeah, it's something. I'll see if I can find a thing about it because I really don't know what I'm talking about, but I heard something about
Well,
it.
there was a like a bicycle race that there was a trans league, and nobody signed up for it because they want to compete against the guys, the dudes that are mentally ill chicks, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to compete against the other gender because they knew they would win. So there's another reason for us to get booted today.
Until relevant proof is accepted by officials, it says the world's top chess federation has ruled that transgender women cannot compete in its official events for women until its officials make an assessment of gender change. Oh, I got to check under the skirt, I guess. The decision by the Switzerland-based federation published on Monday has drawn criticism from advocacy groups and supporters of transgender rights.
See, what they're going to do is they're going to ask them questions that would require like critical thinking and problem solving, and see if they actually solve the problem or if they just complain about it. Because if they just complain about it, then they've had enough estrogen pumped into their system that they're no longer thinking critically, and now they're allowed to compete against the women. Otherwise, there's still too much. There's still too much of that man brain going on. If you're trying to solve the problem instead of just bitch about the fact that there is a problem, still too much testosterone pumping through that old noggin. You gotta work that out. So,
well, they said they're gonna check them, so they're gonna look under the hood and see if there's an idiot or an outie, or if it's a.
It says it can. The participation of transgender women would depend on an analysis of individual cases that could take up to 2 years. It sounds like what they're saying in down here a little bit is that like their reasoning is like, look, man, because there's like titles and like they're two different leagues, like the men and women are like two, so it's like switching from one to the other. It's just like a logistical and like not even like let's just put the whole like what trans is like aside. They're like just from like the fucking the basis of running this league, it's a nightmare. And then to be switching people over from one to the other, and then what do your titles when you were competing in the man's league, do they transfer with you or are those now gone? So I don't know.
yeah, I could see how that would. Well, did you see the one where it was like a marathon or something, and the top two finishers were both biological males, and not only that, but have been or maybe it was the cycling thing, but they've been doing this for a while. Like that puts them at like 16 or 17 consecutive races that the two of them have competed in, where they've placed 1 and 2. Like, just fucking insane. And you're starting to see a lot of these events where, like the martial arts thing, where all the women are just dropping out entirely. They're like, if we have to go against men, then we're not doing it anymore. Like, fuck you, we're out.
That's because they look like they got hit by a truck when they're done with it because they get the crap beat out of them.
Well, and then like Steve was talking about, there was the one that they created just an exclusively trans division. This is just for trans women, men who identify as women, so that you can all compete against each other. And they had to scrap it because nobody signed up because they don't want to compete against each other. Then they're back on a level playing field.
Well, did you see the NHL? Like now they're saying they can't have the flags anymore. They backpedaled on everything.
Oh yeah, the NHL has gotten rid of all the gay pride, everything stuff.
Yeah, you know why? They've lost like 30% of their audience.
But did you see where they did the gay draft or whatever a couple years ago?
No.
They did
draft?
like an LGBTQ draft. Like they had a special draft for
We
that.
should have
kind
done
of
the
thing.
segment at the end of the
And
show.
they pandered to it and got pretty massive backlash just for doing just for the pandering. Like it wasn't even people that were ever going to be. It wasn't a real draft. Like none of the people who were part of this draft were ever actually going to play in the NHL at any point. But they did it as a pandering type of a thing and got massive backlash. And then that's when they, not long after that, they had the Pride Night or whatever. And who was the team that the entire team said, no, we're not doing this, and got all the backlash. And then,
Well, do you remember the one player? Didn't he get suspended?
yeah,
Because he refused to wear the flag because he said he was a Christian and refused to wear it?
I don't know that he got suspended, but he got a lot of backlash from the
I
TT or
remember.
from the from the rainbow community. But
Yeah.
they don't watch hockey, so who fucking cares what their opinion is?
Yeah.
That's been my thing about it all along. Anytime somebody says something or does something, and then the league or the team or whatever like goes after the person for saying or doing it, I'm like, don't listen to the screeching morons. They're not your audience. They don't even watch. They don't. It's like what you've seen with the with the Bud Light boycotts and everything like that. Like when you go against your target audience, you see who the people that actually spend money are. Like, don't cater to the left. They're all fucking pores. They don't spend money on shit.
Yeah.
It's like, and maybe that's a little too
Well,
capitalist of me,
I've been
but if you
boycotting
have an
Bud Light
audience
for 30
who's
years.
willing to spend money and who are the ones who actually support you, those are the people that you cater to. Don't waste time trying to cater to people who don't actually support anything.
Well, that's the funny part is that people got all pissy because it was at the MMA group. I can't remember their name. They're sponsored by Bud Light now. They took a sponsorship from Bud Light. People are bitching about that. It's like they're trying to cater back to you guys again. Stop. Like, and I get it. I get both sides of it, but it's just it's silly. It's like, and if you drink Bud Light, you're not in it for the beer taste. You're in it for just warm piss water. It's just disgusting anyways.
But
You
Bud
can
Light
cool
burned
it down.
Bud Light burned their bridge. Like,
Yeah.
they kept pushing and they kept pushing, and then they went a step too far, and then that dumb bitch that ended up getting fired doubled down and said that their entire base was way too fratty and rednecky, and that they didn't want to cater to those people anymore. Like, it's too late for Bud Light. They can continue to try to pander and get back in the good graces of their actual target audience, but they already burned that bridge. Like they're fucked. I understand what you're saying. That, I mean, if you're drinking Bud Light, you're not drinking it for good beer. You're drinking it because it's cheap and you just want something to drink. But their target audience that's just drinking it because it's cheap and they want something to drink, they're not going back. Like that bridge has been burned and they don't give a shit.
Natty Light's way better.
There's no amount of catering and pandering that's going to bring that audience back.
Yeah.
They went a step too far.
Yeah. But I mean, I heard that she got a job with some Soros back thing. I don't know who it was, but she's gone, but now she works for it was a Soros company or Soros project.
That wouldn't surprise me. She was probably a Soros plant to begin with to get
of course.
To get put in with Bud Light. Sorry, I'm stepping away, and I don't want y'all to see how bare the room actually is when I'm not sitting in front of you.
I just thought you didn't have pants on.
Why is there so much plastic sheeting on the floor and walls?
But yeah, no, the whole thing was stupid. It was fake and gay, as SGG would say.
Hell yeah. Dude, look, this is very unrelated to anything, but this was interesting. Check this out. That he's still alive is crazy. But Magic Johnson is a billionaire now. Apparently the fourth athlete to be a billionaire.
He
was he the one that had AIDS?
Yeah.
Is that him? Okay.
AIDS only kills you if you're one of the poors. If you're not a poor, then AIDS is just like anything else.
That's what it was meant. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, they had a South Park about it. Magic Johnson they figured out like the cure was injecting $150,000 directly into your bloodstream. Was the cure for AIDS. And that's why Magic Johnson lives. He's like, I don't trust banks. I sleep on top of my money. So he's like his mattress is made out of his money, and they're like, maybe he's like, you don't think there could be a connection?
That's funny.
I saw Magic when they had the OVC tournament here in Evansville a few years ago, and Ja Morant was playing for Murray State in the championship game. It was Ja ended up being the number 2 pick in the draft that year, and Magic was here at the Ford Center scouting Ja Morant, and we got down pretty close to the floor level where he was, and he was drunk as shit. Holy hell. Like once you got up close enough that you could get a good look at him, I mean, he's just like,
oh, dear God.
Not a lot of scouting going on there. He is out of it.
Who's one of the, I can't remember the guy's name. He's an announcer. I think it was on Fox. The dude with the gap in his teeth. What's his name?
Michael Strahan?
Yeah. So we were at a Thanksgiving Day game in Detroit, and we're down by the field, and they were doing their pregame thing. And the guy next to me, he's on the phone with his girlfriend. He's like, honey, I'm so close I can see the gap in Michael Strahan's teeth. Back when I would watch football.
Yeah, that I do remember the Magic Johnson press conference when he announced that he had AIDS, and there was all kinds of like concern about whether or not he was going to be able to play, if it was safe for him to play, and everything else.
And the players around him, they were freaked out because they were like, "Oh, if he gets cut, I'm going to get AIDS." Remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember, like, people were freaked out about using bathrooms. Like, there was a rumor going around that if you used a bathroom after someone that had AIDS, you would get AIDS. Sit down on the toilet, you would get it.
So you got to check the seats. The movie theater, people put AIDS needles in it.
I never heard that one.
Oh yeah, I remember we go to like the movies, and like one of our friends' moms like, make sure you sent their son with a flashlight so they could check the seats to make sure there were AIDS needles.
I never heard that one.
If you used a payphone, like you had to like keep an ink pen or something with you so you could open up the little flap on the coin return. Because you didn't want to just stick your finger in there, because people put AIDS needles in there, and
under your car door handle. And of course, it was all bullshit. It was like whatever, razor blades and the Halloween candy, and
that's my favorite one. Okay, so did that actually ever happen?
Like everything's happened at one point or another, right? But it
happened once maybe?
Yeah, right. Not reasonably. Yeah, it's just not. It's something. Like, if you look it up,
anyway.
Yeah, you can't find an actual like case of it happening anywhere. If you try to look into it, so is that to say that in some small town it didn't happen sometime, and that information isn't uploaded onto the internet? Who knows? Like, people do sick shit, but yeah, it's like, oh, watch out for weed edibles in your kid's Halloween candy, and it's like, no, dude, like that's not.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, people ain't giving away their drugs.
I want to pass out.
I'll be right back.
Good gummy bears,
Yeah, man. It's just the fear. People need to be afraid of something. Thank God we have a war going on now.
Nobody's gonna pass out a $3 gummy bear.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the argument was like, oh, it's too expensive, but that shit is getting pretty cheap these days. It's coming more into the realm of possibility. Now, what could happen is like grandma doesn't realize what they are. That's
but what's the odds
of your Halloween candy for the trick-or-treaters?
They're not like, it's not like they're packaged like the ones you would give out anyways. I mean, they're in a Ziploc bag, it's not.
Yeah, and if they're some sort of professional or legal ones, then they're clearly marked, what they are.
Yeah.
So there's like if you make the tray of weed brownies and the tray of regular brownies and get them accidentally mixed up, I mean, you're not handed those out anyhow, but shit like that can happen. But that's stupidity, not malice,
Yeah.
That's
or
an
somebody's
accident.
high. One of the two.
Yeah, yeah. So one of my favorite that 70 shows were Hyde's making pot brownies and selling them at like the yard sale, and accidentally the parents accidentally got a hold of a tray of pot brownies, and they're all sitting around eating them, not realizing they're high. I'd always wondered, like,
Do they cut to the thing where they do the four people, like where they're all talking?
Yep. It's that kind of scene. And then it's like they did something stupid. So like the kids are like lecturing them, and it's the same thing. Like the walls are the same, when the kids are high and the parents are lecturing them, the walls moving behind them. They do all the reverse bits like that. It's pretty funny.
I'm not giving out Halloween candy. We did a artisan market on Saturday, and I gave out some candy then. But no, little brats don't get candy at my house.
We don't get. I live on a red clay road. We don't get trick or treaters.
Who's Facebook user?
Typically that's Carlos, but the grammar's pretty good, so I don't know. he hasn't said Ole or Chasingos or anything like that, so I'm not sure.
Are you giving out candy, Facebook user?
Yeah, are you giving out candy? What's up? What's your Halloween like, and wherever you're from?
SDG, going back to your post earlier, I have watched Tower Gang. I did advertise with them for a while, but not Legion of Skanks. I tried to listen to that a couple times, and it was too chaotic for me.
Yeah, Legion of Skanks is one of those, you got to kind of like listen to it for a few months and learn everyone. It's because I noticed this pattern, because me I was like, when I started listening, I'm like, man, this Lewis guy is an asshole and I hate him. But then after like, a couple months, it's like, oh yeah, you got to have Lewis. Like Lewis is awesome. But yeah, I think it's kind of like a progression.
I've listened to them a couple times back when I first started getting into Dave Smith and stuff like that. I would listen to them, but I just could never get into that show.
Yeah, I'll even notice, like, if I'll go like a couple months without listening to it, then it takes a few episodes to get back in, just because, like, there's kind of like running bits and games and stuff. So you kind of, and then it's funny because they'll reference something. I'm like, oh, I remember when that happened. I'm like, oh my God, that was 5 years ago. I can't believe I've been listening to it for that long. Oh man, where does the time go, guys?
No, the only shows I really listen to anymore is Pete Quinones' show, and then 2-Bit, a couple other ones. Because when I'm trying to concentrate, I'll put on a podcast, or if I'm driving.
Have you guys seen the sorry, we're gonna switch gears to Halloween movies. Have you guys seen the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No.
It's not bad. It's pretty funny. What's really great about it is it's like this group of fancy city folks who are like bought like a ghost town, and they're gonna go like gentrify it, and they're all super woke and shit. So that's pretty funny because they all die. But yeah, they get there, they go to buy it, and they're like, oh my God, look, and there's like this tattered old Confederate flag on like this old building, and they're like, we got to get that down right now. How? Like they're so like so hurt, it's a trip. But anyhow, so we watched that one, and then we watched, which I've been trying to hide the fact that it exists from the wife for the fear that she'd suggest we watch it, because I heard it was pretty gruesome, was The Terrifier. But she found it, so we watched it. Have you seen it, Justin?
I am familiar with it. No, I've seen clips. I haven't ever watched the whole thing. I know it's one of those that has kind of it's kind of developed like a cult following for being pretty gruesome and a very scary-ish movie.
It's very gruesome.
Modern horror.
I will say this about it, though, because normally I'm not like a torture porn or gore fest kind of guy, but I will say this about it. It's a modern movie, but it looked like all practical effects, not like CGI gore, which that gave it a sort of like Grindhouse kind of like feel. So it was, even though I think it came out like 2016 or something, it kind of feels like, except for the fact they have cell phones and shit, it feels like an older movie in the way that it was done. So it was, I looked away at a couple parts. I was like, oh God, I don't need to see that, but like,
I think that's why it's kind of got the cult following, because it does have sort of the old school horror movie feel to it, even though it's a newer movie. There's a second one too, if you're interested.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's one of those that I see it pop up every once in a while. I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah, the last like horror movie I saw was what's the one? I can't remember the name of it. Some witch one, bad one. Like they were in a forest and it was all like handy cam kind of thing.
Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, that was like the last horror movie I saw. I actually saw that in the theater, like when it first came out.
So did I.
It was well done. Like
Scared
you
the
can't
shit
watch
out
it
of
on
me.
TV. It's
Yeah.
horrible on TV, but with like it had a great premise. Like the hype behind it of like, oh, this is actually found footage was kind of fun. The second one was wretched, but yes, Legally Blonde is a horror movie.
We watched a Danish horror movie. It was dubbed. It was called The Conference. And it was actually pretty good too.
I heard Bobby talking about one called Talk to Me that came out recently.
Not familiar.
It's a foreign one, but he said it was the other guys, Adam said it was good. Bobby was kind of bitching about it, but yeah, I'm not sure. But I like all the '90s stuff, like Freddy Krueger's, the Freddy Krueger movies, the Hellraisers.
Mm-hmm.
Those were fun.
We watched Friday the 13th, the third one, the other day, and that's like where he finally gets like the machete and hockey mask, like Jason and like Fred. It's so like iconic with the hot, but it's like the first one, it's the mom, like it's crazy. It's like the third when he finally starts to get like,
that one was in 3D in the theaters.
Oh, really?
I saw that in the theater like when I was a kid. We went and bought a movie ticket for a different one and then snuck over into that one and watched that.
I feel like my wife said like, oh, I wonder if this was supposed to be in 3D or something because a couple of the
part where
he
kills shoots the harpoon or whatever that is. Like
they got the spear
that came into the screen, but I'm blind in one eye, so 3D doesn't work for me.
It doesn't even work for you.
Nope, can't see jack squat with 3D.
Did you have an accident or something?
Hit with a rock when I was a kid. We were throwing rocks at each other. I got hit with a rock in the eye.
I got hit with a sharpened stick in the eye and had to wear like an eye patch for a while.
Have the outer vision. I can see light, but I can't see anything in the center.
Wow.
How are you a photographer?
I have one eye. I'm good.
There's only one eye for the viewfinder.
He's really got an eye. He's got an eye for it. He's got an eye for it.
Yeah.
That's why
protect
normally
that other eye, buddy.
That's why normally I wear glasses to protect the other eye, so
nothing
hits it. So
if I only had one, I'd be wearing. It's one of the reasons I like wearing glasses instead of contacts. It gives me an excuse to wear safety glasses everywhere.
I can't wear contacts. I can't put them in.
That seems like it freaked me out. I have no desire.
Yeah, I tried contacts and it felt like something was scratching my eye all day long.
It definitely takes some getting used to, like deliberately sticking something in your eye. But
well, that wasn't the worst of it. SGG. We used to take bottle rockets and shoot them at each other. And then
we had BB gun wars. We'd use the old barns and stuff, and
yeah, we did that too. But we didn't wear safety glasses back then. They didn't have safety glasses when I was a kid.
Each other through the there'd be like
animals.
There'd be like an opening that big in the wall, and you'd see somebody like trying to hide behind it, so you'd shoot them through the wall.
Yep. Yep, we would do that. We would throw like we had a bow and arrow and shoot the arrow up, but it didn't have a head on it. It just was just a wood. You shoot that up in the air and wait to see who gets hit. Yeah, we're
freaking monsters.
Right.
Jesus.
Kids these days will never
no parental
understand
supervision. Both parents are working.
Kids these days will never understand what it's like to try to survive childhood in our generation.
No.
I had to work around because a lot of my friends were animals too, so I had to try to survive by staying out of the BB gun wars and all the shit that I knew was fucking retarded. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll sit over here and read. You guys go do your thing. Get me when you're done. Yeah, man.
We'd all get on our bikes and ride like a pack of wolves into the city.
No, we were forest kids. we'd ride like a pack of wolves into the forest. we had there was a
we
spot
had
where my
trees,
dad
but
lived.
that was about it. We didn't have a lot, you know. It was
My
city,
dad
man.
lived right next to the Croom Forest, and they started doing this thing where, like, you know, there used to be back when it was like logging and turpentine was what they used the area for, you know, like 120, 150 years ago. So there was a lot of like railroad tracks through it that were defunct. So they turned a lot of them into like they paved a lot of them. So because this is just massive amounts of like state land now, so they paved a lot of them. So there's like, you know, trails and you like ride your bike, but then you go off of the trails. And, you know, Florida isn't particularly hilly, but because there was a lot of train tracks in the area, there was a lot of like, you know, just ridges that would just go for miles where they built up to put the train tracks on. So we'd get off the paved path there and go into like the woods, and there'd be basically ramps and jumps and stuff like that. So we do a lot of stupid stuff, jumping our bikes and watching our friends get hurt doing that. And I participate in that a bit. For
we
sure.
had this big old barn that had a hayloft in it. And so we took a bunch of old bales of hay and dumped them off the loft, like 15 feet below onto the ground, and then just jump out of the loft into the giant pile of hay, and then climb. Like there wasn't the stairs to go up were all like busted through, so you had to climb the wall to get into the hayloft. It's like it's a wonder we survived.
Yeah,
What's the worst? Go ahead. I was just gonna ask, what's the worst that you guys have gotten like hurt doing something stupid like that as a kid? Like you ever like break your arm jumping off the hayloft, or what would you say is like the Steve? I don't mean your eye might have to take the cake for you. I mean that's pretty lasting.
That was pretty good. We had steps going downstairs and then off of our driveway. So we would run through the driveway and like we put mattresses at the bottom of the steps and dive down the steps. It's like Superman down there.
I got a pretty severe concussion when I was 4. I was over at a friend's house, and I actually remember this. I can't believe I actually remember it, especially getting a severe head injury. But I was over at a friend's house, and they were all climbing up onto like a folding table and jumping off of that into a hammock. And I'm like, you guys are stupid. I'm not doing that. You know, my typical MO. And then after I watched them all do it, I remember going, all right, now it's my turn. And I did it, and this was over cement, I should point out. And I jumped into the hammock, and it swung around, flipped all the way up 180, and just slammed my ass down on the back of the head on the concrete. And I was like kind of like bedridden for like a week, like the hospital and shit. It was pretty bad. I still have a bald spot on the back of my head.
I took a header off the table once. I think it was probably 5 or 6, right under the kitchen floor. Good couple cuts on the head. It was fun.
Kids' heads are pretty malleable. They're made to take hits.
Yeah.
I didn't really ever have anything major happen from any of those dumbass things when I was a kid. I guess the closest one was the barn that had the hayloft. It was like all open at the bottom. So we would have, that was where we would have a lot of our BB gun, or we would have dirt clod wars where we'd like throw these giant dirt clods at each other. And you would take one of the old bales of hay and roll it over to the edge. And as the other team at the bottom was like running through, you would try to like push a bale of hay off and hit them as they ran through, stuff like that. Well, dust would just fill this whole area. And me and a buddy, I was running this way and he was running that way through the corridor. And we bang head first right into each other, just because we couldn't see anything. It was all dusty, and we went forehead to forehead running through that corridor, and that was about the worst we ever had. But I mean,
Jay, that explains a lot.
Oh Jesus.
They shipped her off after that. She tried to kill him.
She tried to break his skull. I think I've told it before. Like I guess the worst for me personally was a 4-wheeler wreck, but it wasn't really even my fault. It was there had been an old goat pen, goat lot, and they converted it after they got rid of the goats. They converted it into field, but there was this big ridge that went from where the goat pen had been to where the field originally started. And I was riding my 4-wheeler across there, and I hit that ridge, and I got thrown over the handlebars, and I guess apparently I laid there for like 10 minutes before I finally got up. And I got up, I got back on the 4-wheeler and rode back over to the barn. And the guy that worked for us, he was like, "Man, you laid there for like 10 minutes. I was starting to get worried." It's like, dude, you saw it happen and you just like left me dead in the
Just
field.
watched it. You didn't want to go see a dead body. If you were...
I ain't no doctor. What was I supposed to do?
Just left me laying in a field. It's like, oh,
That's funny.
that sucks.
We
All
just
the
played
kids-
like we would go out in the summer and play baseball or football all day long. Like we just play it all day long. Come home when the street lights are turn on. That was
Yeah,
the
we
rule.
would go play football out in a field and like no pads or anything. Is
No, we played in the street, man.
Yeah, straight up tackle football with no pads or anything, just like trying to kill each other.
We did 2-hand, but we were not nice. You'd push pretty hard, get some nice scrapes and cuts.
Playing football like that is where I learned about smear the queer. Everybody would just target one guy and be like, "All right, we're gonna fucking kill him now." And
Yep.
then everybody, like, you would throw him the ball deliberately and then try to go murder him.
Yep.
Hey, it's a wonder none of us died on the playground.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah,
man.
makes a man out of you.
Yeah, it does. It does. It makes you grow up quick.
You
Get
know,
the crap beat out of you, and for no reason, somebody just would hit you harder than normal. And
That was we would box out behind the weight room when I was in high school, and one day one of the D linemen on the football team, he's like, "I want Campbell." I'm like, "Why? Why do you want Campbell?" Like, he's like 6'3", 250, and I'm like 6'5", 160. I'm like, "Why do you want to box me? You just want to try to beat the hell out of me." So then I spent the next like 5 minutes just tattooing him right in the eyeball until he finally was like, "Stop, I can't fucking see anymore." And like, he hit me once real good right in the mouth, and after that I just kept popping him right in the eye until he finally said stop. Like, why do you want me? What? I didn't do anything.
yeah. Maybe he thought you did. Or hey, some people just got a punchable face. Maybe you just,
do, yeah.
I don't know what it is about your face, man, but I just want to send one of these, right?
He was not built for boxing. He had a big fucking head. I mean, that's an easy target.
Yeah, man, and you got those gangly long arms, man.
And I got a little tiny head too. My wife makes fun of me all the time. She's like, "You got such a small head." I mean, makes me a good fighter. It's a small target, hard to hit.
Oh shit.
yeah, I think bike helmets are the one thing that kept all the stupid kids alive. Like after we grew up, these stupid kids had bike helmets, and that's why they're all alive now. Reproducing.
God, I do think this is like a miracle that we didn't all die from bike accidents. I remember I was riding. Me and my buddy were riding. He had one of those bikes where there's a tab. You pull on the front tire, so the front tire comes off easily. And I guess it wasn't secured in properly, and we're riding on pavement, and I just watched that tire just get sucked back into his sprocket, and he just over the handlebars, on the pavement. And oh my god, dude. It was classic. I'm like, "You okay?" He's like, "I'm fine. Let's just keep going. I'm fine. Like, let's just go." And he's trying to hold back, crying. He's got the wind knocked out of him so bad. Oh,
It's the worst.
I tell my kids like stories about the shit we did when we were kids and stuff. And they're like, "How are you even alive?" I'm like, "I don't know, luck, I guess." And our
Yeah, we would ride for miles, man. We just ride around. Like seriously, it was a pack of kids. We would ride around our bikes. Somebody always would wipe out or turn in. Oh, I remember one time I was riding on the sidewalk because it was a major road, and this dude pulled out of an alley, and I smacked his car and went over the hood. Like, and he was pissed because I dented his car. I'm like, seriously? Like, what the fuck? You pulled out of an alley at 20 miles an hour.
Well, yeah, these days it's like, now you have to be worried about the kids suing. Back then, the adult could yell at the kid for denting their car.
And you might get snatched up and get your ass beat by some random
Yeah.
adult. What is wrong with you, you little dumbass?
I was gonna talk about my dad getting us a 4-wheeler, but no, I've got one that goes with your car dating story. So we were at the bus stop. I must have been like 7 or 8, and we're waiting for the bus, and we're throwing rocks or skipping them across the road or whatever we're doing. And I don't know how it came about. One of us dared our other friend or something. Hey man, when a car drives by, you think you could skip a rock underneath the car as it drives by? And he's like, yeah, of course I could. So this woman with her beautiful mullet mane, you know, in her fucking Camaro comes by, and he goes to skip that rock and hits, you know, about it hits early and bounces up into the door of the Camaro as it drives by. And she just gets out, comes. She's just tearing us all a new asshole, dude. And she wasn't even like, it wasn't like a lesbian mullet. It was just an early 90s country woman mullet. You know I know Justin knows what I'm talking about. The big poof on the front and then the big mullet in the back. Oh, and
Hey,
she's out of her
like 6 cans of Aquanet for the
I live in rural Indiana. I still see a couple of those every week.
Oh, I love them. They're still out there. There are a few out there. I love it when I see them, man.
There's
Oh,
one
hell
lady
yeah.
at the farmer's market, one of the farmer's markets I do, man. She's got that like 80s, like 5 cans of Aquanet hair going every day, man. It's crazy.
Well, it's funny because that look to me is just so like that's not attractive at all because that was, you know, my parents' friends. But then like after my folks got divorced, I found out my dad used to sleep with one of the neighbors who had that hair, you know, and I'm like, oh fuck. Like, not while they were married, you know, but I was just like, still, I'm like, oh man, but you know, I guess I put it. Well, they were the same age. That was probably attractive, you know, or attractive enough. But to me, that's that lady. That was my old neighbor lady. Ew. He told me a little more detail, and I wanted to know one night when he was a little drunk, and I was like, oh God, no, I don't need to know that. You know, parents did the same stuff we do. You know.
Oh god.
So,
Dag's dad starts telling him all about it, and he's like,
dude, I remember one night they were drinking. I was probably like 16, and they were over at my dad's house drinking, and I guess she was really drunk. And he's like, "Well, I better drive her home for safety's sake. So you're gonna be all right here at home alone by yourself tonight." And
he
I'm
drove
like, "Hell
her
yeah,
home, right?
I can smoke some weed, right?" So he goes, "All right, well, I'm just gonna drive her home, you know, for safety's sake." And then as he's walking out the door, he goes, "May as well get a little something while I'm at it too." Walk out the door, and I was like, "Ah, damn it, dude! Why you have to ruin this for me?"
He sure
No
drove
wonder
her
he's
home.
not coming home. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, it was great once I started like getting old enough, like 16 to 18, and my dad started being a little more upfront with me about shit. It was kind of cool, but then like you hear like the cool stories, but then they take it just a little too far. You know, like, no, you didn't need, that's too much info, Dad. That's too much info. Damn, man. We need that. See, I always want like a sound. What do they call it? Like the soundboard. You just have the buttons that have like the audio cuts.
I know.
I want one of those so bad.
I know. I've been thinking about getting one and hooking it up and doing all the.
Because I'd be
Doing all
dropping
this into
Simpsons drops all day long, man.
Early 90s morning show, radio morning show, you know? Toilet flushing sound and the ay caramba or whatever, you know, just throw in there whenever.
It wouldn't take that much. We could probably had it all hooked up. But at this point, like I don't know if
one of those cost.
And I say I don't know. And
I'm
see,
sure
I'm
you can get it digitally for free or something, some sort of
I'll drop
inexpensive
some
thing,
money
yeah.
in for that.
I can put audio stuff in here where I can just like play, like I can play music clips and stuff as the show goes. But I don't know, those kind of load weird and they sound kind of funky sometimes.
Figure it out, Justin. We'll all donate for it. You gotta get that.
I'll work on it once. I just have to stop being so lazy. And actually, I'm not lazy. I got to finish moving. Once I get done moving, then I'll get it all hooked up, and we'll up the quality of this show so we seem a little less retarded.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.